give two examples. Please, don't take them too seriously. Everyone has their own channels of intuition and ways of being a therapist. As I have already said, the purpose of this course is to empower the unique methods of each of you. My first example. A fairly young woman entered my treatment room. The moment she entered, despite having a typical average body structure, I had a feeling that her body was heavy, mainly in the abdomen area. Something gave me the feeling of a dark and heavy mass. It was a feeling, a hunch, an intuition, as nothing on the outside showed that. But that was my feeling. She sat down and I noticed she was wearing a necklace. It was a chain with quite large beads, and the central bead was especially large. This caught my attention. This bead seemed big and heavy, and the weight of this bead reminded me of the weight I felt in her abdomen, as if it had a heavy mass. Then we started talking. She told me about her life, mentioning that she had a lot of self-criticism, low self-esteem, often put herself down, and felt like she hadn't accomplished much in her life. And she always messed up what she did, even though she did quite a bit. And then, at one point in the session, I listened to what she was saying while simultaneously sensing this heaviness within her. All of a sudden, she said, "It's interesting that a lot of the trades I've dealt with are related to editing. I've worked on book editing and video editing. It's all related to editing." That statement made me think about the relationship between editing, those weights found both on her body and her necklace, and her sense of value. I think, and it's not rational or intellectual thinking. It's not logical. It's taking in these impressions, letting them sink into the unconscious, and allowing for unconscious processing to take place. And then, a little bit before the end of the session, an idea suddenly occurred to me. It wasn't the same feeling as when you have an intellectual idea. It was another sensation, as if an understanding had flashed across my mind with a somatic accompaniment, a physical phenomenon that accompanies it. This is a unique type of tremor of vibration. You know that you've found something or that something is important. At that moment, I understood the connection between value and editing was very simple. I understood the way she edited her life story greatly influenced her sense of worth. The way she arranged the beads of her life story, like the beads on a necklace, to create her personal narrative caused her value to be very low and heavy. This understanding is very straightforward and presumably was written in narrative psychology theories. It doesn't matter where it is written. What mattered was the sensation that accompanied a certain intuition to maturity until the moment something connected inside me. I discovered. That was the feeling. I discovered something. I discovered something about the relationship between editing and value. After the revelation, after the illumination, there were several possibilities of what to do with it. I shared it with the patient. I said something like, "I have a feeling you have a unique talent for telling yourself your life story in a way that greatly reduces your self-worth. And maybe there are other possibilities to order your stories supporting a higher self-value." I say this to show something about the feeling of revelation and the following of intuition from formlessness until a form is generated. When Bion writes without memory or desire, he is not referring to a neutralization of memory or the elimination of desire. His main intention is not to hold on to memory and not to hold on to desire to change, save, improve, or take the patient from one place to another. If, for the entire session, I had been occupied with a type of intellectualization, how would I improve the patient's sense of value? I don't think I would have reached the same result. Here, I allowed a creative journey to take place, which concluded in a revelation that supported a change that could not have happened if I had only followed a particular line of knowledge. That revelation I had, as Bion says, serves as a model. Once you discover something, you're like a research scientist or an innovator. That revelation helps us to understand, like a model that enables you to consider other cases and examples. For example, understanding that how we tell the story of our lives greatly influences our self-esteem was a revelation and a model. I was later able to apply it to myself, other patients, and the world. Our value is not a given, but rather depends on the way the story of our life is told. Bion's recommendations are not to cling to memory and not to cling to desires. It is not possible to avoid thoughts or memories, but the difference is you can think and be aware that they are only passing thoughts. They are only clues of O, only clues from a K-plane for an unknown reality. Now, you pick up those clues instinctively rather than intellectually. Through that surrender, that liquidity, you allow O to swell up until you grasp something new, a new idea. Then you can say something about it.